Chirag S. from Bangalore, India asks, I am learning Atma Shatakam attributed to Adi Shankaracharya. My question is in the line, I do not fall into the triad of experience, the experiencer, and the experienced. But consciousness is the eternal witness. It witnesses and experiences mind and body, doesn't it, Swamiji? Can you resolve this paradox?
Yeah. Let me just dwell on this question a little bit before we try to answer it. It's always interesting if I understand the question and then try to answer it. Otherwise, we don't know what are we talking about. So it's a good question. Have you noticed, those who have been coming to this session, how the questions keep getting better and better and more pointed and more difficult, actually? All right. So what he has asked here is, all our knowledge is of the form knower, known, and the method or instrument of knowledge. In Sanskrit, pramata, the knower, I am the knower, and prameya, the object of knowledge. So maybe this microphone is the object of my knowledge. I see it. How do I know this? By the instrument of sight, visual perception. So pratyaksha is perception, the Sanskrit word for perception. So there are three things involved here. I, the knower, in this case I, the seer, and the object that I see, and the method by which I see it. The eyes. You are also a knower, and the object of your knowledge is my words, and the method of your knowing these words is ears. So it's auditory perception. The Sanskrit words for these three are pramata, the knower, prameya, the known object, and pramana, the source of knowledge or the instrument of knowledge. So this is basic epistemology. The philosophy of how we know things. It could be, the instrument of knowledge could be perception. You could see, hear, smell, taste, touch things. Or it could be inference. We always make common sense inference. So it's maybe you look at the train schedule and you say, oh, there's a train at 11:10 and this time is coming now, so there must be a train now. I infer from that knowledge that every time at 11:10, a train comes in the subway there. It's 11:10 now, therefore there must be a train there. I don't see it. I haven't seen it yet. But based on my previous experience, I make an inference. So inference is another source of knowledge. Then there are other sources of knowledge. Another main source of knowledge is authority. We don't think so, but it's true. Often even all of the science and all we do, we think it's inference, but it's not really inference. Only when those who produce that knowledge, it's inference for them. They collect data and make inference about it. But when we learn it through textbooks and professors, and the information is given to us and we take it on trust, on authority, on good authority. That's the whole meaning of peer-reviewed journals, on good authority. You need to, there's a community of knowledge and they verify that this knowledge is trustworthy and they give it to us and we accept it. So on authority, it could be scientific authority, it could be religious authority, whatever it is. So these are the ways of knowing. Now, what he is asking is that he read in a poem by Shankaracharya, which tells us about the self, that you are pure consciousness. You are neither the known, nor the knower, nor the instrument of knowledge. The three things, the triad, any knowledge is these three things. So it's a classic way of pointing out pure consciousness, that you are not the knower, you are not the known object, and you are not the instrument of knowledge. Clearly you're not a known object because pure consciousness is not an object. It cannot be known as, like the microphone. So it's not a known object. And you're not even the knower and not even the instrument of knowledge. Pure consciousness is not the eyes or the ears or even the mind. Then he's asking the question, but we always are told that pure consciousness in Vedanta is the witness of all experience. You're the witness consciousness. So are you the knower, for example? Are you part of that knower, known, and method of knowledge, or are you not? Now, do we begin to see what is the question? all knowledge is knower, knowable, and the method of knowledge. And we are taught that Shankaracharya, we are taught that you are the witness of all knowing in Vedanta. You are witness consciousness. But there Shankaracharya is saying you are not the knower, you are not the knowable, you are not the method of knowledge, instrument of knowledge. So which is it? The answer is this. There is a distinction between consciousness, the witness consciousness, and the knower. Let me repeat this. There is a distinction between the witness consciousness and the knower. What happens is this. You are consciousness itself, according to Advaita Vedanta. We are that. And this consciousness is reflected in the mind. And the mind, what do you mean by reflected in the mind? The mind somehow has this unique characteristic of reflecting consciousness. It's like, you know what it's like? It's like a mirror reflecting your face. A mirror is just an object. There are all sorts of objects here. You're looking at all these objects, and you see a curtain here, you see Swami here, you see flowers there, you see pictures there. But if I hold a mirror up, what will happen? You'll see a mirror, but also you'll see yourself. That's the unique thing. If you look at the curtain, you don't see yourself. You just see the curtain. But the mirror is also an object just like the curtain. It is a unique property, capacity of reflecting back your face to you. So on that analogy, mind is something that also reflects consciousness. And therefore, reflecting consciousness, it becomes a knower. So the mind plus reflected consciousness. How is it a knower? Whatever is happening in the world, our senses gather that information and dump it in the mind. So with eyes gather visual information, forms, colors, shapes. Ears gather auditory information, sounds and all, vibrations. Tongue, nose, skin, and all of that information is dumped in the mind. In the mind, therefore, it's like visualized as a lake in which ripples are set out because of the information coming in from outside. And what else is there in the mind? The reflected consciousness. And that reflected consciousness illumines whatever is going on in the mind. Another good example is the sun in the sky, and you put a pot of water there, and in the water you will find a little flickering, shining little sun, a reflected sun. And that little sun can also have it behaves like the real sun in a tiny way. It illumines something just nearby. It can do that. And so whatever is happening in that little pot of water is also illumined by that little flickering light. Similarly, whatever is happening in our minds is illumined by this reflected consciousness. This illumination of whatever is happening in the mind is called knowledge by us. And it takes a long time to explain it. It happens instantaneously. It's happening all the time. So what's happening is when I focus on the microphone and an image of the microphone, a mental image of the microphone is created. Light is reflected from the microphone, it goes into the eyes, and from the eyes through the optic nerves, electric You see, very interesting. The microphone doesn't go into the eyes. And then you have to call 911. It's just light goes into the eyes. Whatever we see in the world, it's very interesting. Whatever we see in the world, people, animals, plants, just sky and earth, all that goes into the eyes is just light, reflected light. That's all it can collect. And then there an image is formed. And then from there, even the image is not there anymore. After that, just it's tiny bursts of electricity racing along your optic nerves to certain brain centers. And then what happens? Nobody knows. Nobody knows. I mean, scientifically nobody knows. We all know practically what happens. We get a mental image. How those little bursts of electricity become a mental image, what's the connection? That's the hard problem of consciousness. Anyway, but what I'm saying is, the mental image in the mind, it's an image in the mind, that is illumined by the reflected consciousness, and that's what we call knowledge. Because at that moment, I get the feeling here, I am seeing a microphone. So this is knowledge. Now, when Shankaracharya says, you are not the knower, you are not the object of knowledge, you are not the instrument of knowledge, what he means is, the object of knowledge is this microphone. The means of knowledge are the eyes and the brain and the mind and whatever. And the knower is the reflected consciousness. You, with the help of that reflected consciousness in the mind, you become the knower. But what are you really? You are the pure consciousness. It's just like telling the sun that you are not the pot, you're not the water, you're not even the reflected sun. You are that's one sun in the sky. So in that sense, now notice, in that sense, you are not one of those three: the knower, the knowable, and the instrument of knowledge. You're with me so far? Yeah. Not very confident. Just take it in this sense. The witness consciousness is not the knower, the knowable, and the instrument of knowledge. However, the knower cannot function without the witness consciousness. Another example is very helpful here. Sunlight and moonlight. So at night, the moon is the illuminer. The earth in the darkness at night is the illumined. And how does the moon illumine the earth? Through moonlight. So you can happily tell the sun, "Oh sun, you are not the moon, you are not the moonlight, you are not the earth," right? And yet, it's also true there wouldn't be any moonlight without sunlight, right? So without sunlight, the moon wouldn't reflect anything, and there would be no moonlight coming on the earth, and the earth would not be illumined. So imagine the moon is the knower, right? And the moonlight is the instrument of knowledge. And what is known is the earth at night. None of it would be possible without the sun. And yet the sun is none of them. That, I think, makes it clear. In one sense, the moonlight is not sunlight. In another sense, moonlight is nothing but sunlight. I remember this cartoon I saw. You know, there is supposed to be these vampires, they cannot stand sunlight. So they come out of their coffin at night. And then they scare people, right? Now there was this cartoon. I remember that these vampires come out of his coffin and is scaring this guy. And this guy is a scientist. He's very scared. And the vampire comes at him, and then and there is moonlight. And then the scientist tells the vampire, "You do know that the moonlight is sunlight, right?" And the vampire screams in pain and rushes back to his coffin. So it's enough to drive him back to his coffin. I knew a Swami once who lived in a coffin. Yes. There's this Swami in the Himalayas, and so some of the Swamis, they live in cottages, some live in caves, and this Swami lived in a very nice cave. So I went to visit him. And this is very high in the Himalayas, on the bank of the Ganga there. Stunning scenery and everything. Now what happened was, in that cave, years ago, a very famous Swami used to live there, and he practiced meditation. Then he went out and taught, he became very famous. When he died, I think it was his last wish to be taken back to that cave, and Swamis' bodies are generally not burnt sometimes, and they're either immersed in water. So that's what they did with the followers of that Swami did that. They took his dead body in a coffin and went to that cave, and then they immersed the body in the water. But the coffin was left behind. It was a nice coffin. Now, years and years later, there was this other Swami living there whom I met, and he said that when it gets too cold, I crawl into the coffin and it's snug and warm in there. So he doesn't have those preconditions. He wouldn't want to live inside the coffin. He doesn't have those ideas. For him, it's just a nice snug box, so where he's happy. And when it's time to get up, he opens the coffin lid and climbs out of it. So that's the answer to the question. Yes, you, the pure consciousness, you are neither the knower, nor the object of knowledge, nor the instrument of knowledge. And yet, without you, Neither the knower would function, nor the instrument of knowledge would function, nor the object of knowledge would be known. No knowledge is possible without you, and yet you are the witness. You are not involved in any of it. And this is something that we can experience ourselves. All right, I'll leave it till later. There's something else I could have added. Anyway, we have to go ahead.